Cool. All right. Perfect. Yeah, not a problem. And I do want this to be as interactive as possible. So I'll definitely I'll stop here and there so that people can jump in and ask questions because I suppose where we're sort of working is in, the brave new world, a little bit of digital coaching. So when we talk about digital coaching, we talk about sort of where we started in particular with Skillest. It was quite literally a long time ago now. As a coach, you would create a profile, and it was almost like a directory where students could discover you and then you could work remotely with each other. Pretty sort of rudimentary tools, but the platform itself has now evolved into this unbelievable suite of tools that any coach can use to train any student around the world, but then also use for all their in-person students because we believe what's now happening is that a lot of these behaviors and habits of online coaching are now filtering into the in-person experience so that we're moving away from a transactional sort of learning experience. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, a little bit of background on me. So I'm an Australian. I live on the other side of the world. I'm here on the Sunshine Coast, and I've been a teaching pro for 21 years or something like that. And basically, my background is in like most of you, just like obsessed with technique and trying to get better at everything I did. And obviously, growing up, like in Canada, in Australia, we're just absolutely sports mad. So I played everything and I was obsessed with, I just love best practice of like how to do something. I still am a big swimmer and when I'm in the pool, I'm thinking about the way my body's working and just always been obsessed with the idea, wow, if I can discover a best, way of doing things and there's so much information out there to try and discover, I can get good at something. So I sort of took that into, I started working with a gentleman called Gary Edwin, who is a coach. He's now 83 or something like that. But back in 2002, he was coaching about 10 guys on the PGA Tour in the States. And he was just a brilliant coach. And he was doing pretty incredible things and teaching very differently. I don't know if anyone out there's ever heard of Gary, but he teaches pretty much the exact opposite of the way everyone else teaches these days in particular. He doesn't talk about ground force reaction and, big moves and hitting it, 380 yards. He talks about just efficient moves and flicking it down there essentially. But I'll never forget a guy, I was working with him in Queensland. A guy literally sent a VHS tape of his golf swing from Holland to Gary, who was in Queensland at the time. And Gary put the VHS tape in and he was, watching this golf swing and then he built a tape and then he literally mailed it back to this guy in Holland. Now you can imagine that was a pretty horrible learning experience, but it was the origins of like digital and, remote coaching. So I saw that all happening. I worked really closely with Gary for about 5 years on the Gold Coast, just south of where I am now. After working with him, I then flew to London. I taught in London. I then moved to Singapore. I taught in Singapore. All of this time, I wasn't PGA qualified or anything like that. I was just, I'd learned from the best and was applying my trade. Decided I had to go back to Melbourne, Australia, and do my time to become a pro so that I could apply for a whole bunch of jobs. But once I did that, I then started teaching at an academy, and it was just like literally these years of being in the industry, of working globally, of seeing what Gary was doing, and then also myself just being completely exhausted by the day to day of just punching out 1 hour golf lessons. I was like, we've got to solve this, completely solve this problem where, students should be able to learn from anyone, coaches should be able to build really scalable businesses. And that's sort of where we're at today. So we've got, coaches on our platform that are literally, I mean, I was just at the PGA show over in Orlando, and we've got coaches that are making, £25,000, so 30,000 US dollars a month on the app, and it's pretty wild to see what's happening, and they're all doing it completely through their iPad or their phone. So, and we're obviously in a world now where information is everywhere, right? So, what's obviously happened is that with the advent and the explosion of social media, our tool has become really valuable because I still remember like one of our very first profiles. I'm sure you might or probably know who Andreas Carli is. He's an incredible Danish coach that I think he had like 4,000 followers or something at the time. This is like literally 9 years ago. I said, Andreas, do you want to use our software? And you can teach the world. And that's, for him, it was perfect. Like, he could then use our tools to teach anyone around the world. So this is sort of where the industry is going, is this digitization and the real breaking down of barriers, effectively of geographic barriers, so that students and coaches can learn from each other. But there's a lot that sort of that comes with that, right? That there's a lot of like learning how to teach remotely is quite a challenge and things like that. So what I might do, I'll throw a little bit of a presentation up that we can sort of talk about the changing landscape, and then we can probably, with Eric's help, we can go into the nitty-gritty of exactly how the platform works. So let me just grab and see if I can get the technical side of things happening here. So let's just shrink that down. All right, so if I share my screen, here we go. Well, it's not this one. There we go. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have a chat about, is there any before I start now, because I've got a habit of just rambling like relentlessly. So before I start, has anyone got any comments or anything they want to say? No? Okay, let's have a chat about the changing landscape. So what's happening is that students expect more than, once a month coaching, right? And this very transactional way of learning the game, which is, the traditional in-person experience. And we've all sort of been, we've all been institutionalized a little bit. And probably the business model and the way, it's worked in the past has sort of demanded that this is the model, that someone comes and sees you, they spend an hour with you, and then you sort of they walk out the door and you're like, good luck with that. I'll see you in 3 weeks. And then they come back and you're like, how's it been going? Like, how's it been going? It's like, the inevitable question after 3 weeks. And this is rapidly changing, right? That we're sort of moving away from a transactional model to something which is support between sessions. Now, this is the thing, right? So we're moving from transactional to always on coaching. So at the absolute extreme of this is probably a coach like Alex Clapp, who, is an English coach who's over in Bristol. He he was with me at the Orlando show. And sometimes it's really, really good to spend time with your coaches because you see how they use these products. Like he uses the product way more than I do, even though we created it, right? So he uses it it's almost like an augmented extension of himself. He is always on, right? And he loves it, right? Because it means that he can be versatile. He can, jump on a plane. He can head to Orlando and he doesn't lose any business. But he is literally, I'd wake up in the morning and he'd be doing an analysis, or I could hear him doing a quick Zoom call with someone or leaving a voice message or whatever it might be, right? So it's the exact opposite of the old model, right? So this is the beauty of remote stuff and digital coaching is that you can always be there as support, right? So, and what's obviously all happening at the exact same time is that, AI is appearing right now on the landscape, right? So AI, what it's doing already, and I use it all the time, right? So even outside of coaching, I use it for all sorts of stuff from, strategy and content creation and things like that. But it just is automatically giving us very fast answers, right? So we expect, answers immediately, which is what is going to be the expectation of students going forward, right? They're not going to sit around for 4 weeks to find out how things are going, right? They're going to want like immediate answers, right? So, but the cool thing is, I do think that AI isn't necessarily replacing coaches, but it is raising expectations, and the new benchmark is absolutely fast feedback, clear plan, and accountability, right? So that's the thing, right? So if we keep moving here, right? So what we want to, we've all seen I hope we've all seen like a lot of these AI products out there, whether they be even Sportsbox is fantastic. But I actually did a demonstration the other day. I won't do it right now, but I did a demo the other day. You can actually take a golf swing now and you can put it into Gemini, for example, in which is Google's AI. You can put a golf swing in there and it can give you feedback, quite literally, right? Where it can look at the video and it can actually say, hey, your feet are, your setup looks a bit, awkward. Your feet are too far apart. Now, some of it's absolute bollocks, but sometimes it actually gets it relatively close, right? It's interesting that there is some value there. I actually put something into Gemini the other day that had Rapsodo data on the left-hand side of the screen, and it actually referenced the data that was in the video to the golf swing itself, right? So anyway, so without scaring the living daylights out of you about how good AI is getting, there is the opportunity to AI proof yourself a little bit as well, right? And so what we've got to do is move away from this old model of lesson, wait, guess, and repeat. So if you're doing that at the moment, you need to sort of rapidly change just because this is like students will not do this in 2, 3 years' time. Like they just won't sit around and wait. Now, the AI only model is obviously it's lots of information, has zero context a lot of the time about the student, their history, their personality, their emotion, their insecurities, and all that stuff. And there's not a lot of accountability and there's no relationship there, right? Now, we all know that half of our students love to come and see us because they love talking about the football, right? And they want to talk about like, how their game's going. They want to hit ball. They do still want that relationship there, right? So in that world of old model versus AI model, the new model is hybrid, right? So this is if we get away from like talking about exclusively online, what we believe with Skillest and at the company is that the new model of hybrid is going to win, right? So you go so coach plus AI plus subscription is sort of always on. So hybrid means both in person and online, and then combining a bit of AI in there as well, right? So you get guided practices, compounding progress, you get community and stuff like that. So I could probably jump to the next screen actually because the so this is what the ultimate hybrid experience is, right? So does everyone sort of get the idea of what hybrid means? It's like moving away from like anything that's just one lesson at a time. And it's like basically the one lesson at a time, they're the check-ins. The rest of the coaching almost happens in the middle, right? So you've got full-time contact with your students, right? So this is what like an ultimate hybrid offering might look like. You can include this in your membership. Now the cool thing is, and talking about Skillest, we facilitate all this, right? So you can build these subscriptions inside Skillest and people can pay for them. This is a relatively new offering and we're already seeing it go really well. But yeah, in-person coaching sessions, lesson plus supervised practice. So you might even have like some clinics that you throw up that people can attend as part of their in-person learning, right? Now they're paying a monthly subscription for this, so it changes the model a bit. Arcos performance tracking, right? So we've got Arcos integrated into Skillest. So is there a world where for a subscription, they also get their Arcos with that, and then you're tracking their data? The way it works in Skillest is that as soon as someone subscribes to you, or connects their Arcos to your account, as soon as they finish a round of golf, you get a notification. You can actually look at their scorecards, their strokes gained, and how the round's actually gone the moment they've finished inside Skillest, right? So you could even we've got coaches on the app that are already doing weekly group webinars. So they do exactly what we're doing right now. Every Friday afternoon, they'll throw a Zoom link up, and this will be for their local students. And they'll just open their Zoom link for an hour, and anyone that wants to come along and attend can. And they just talk about, right, they'll literally talk about where the weather and like, okay, we know tomorrow it's going to be windy. This is how you're going to hit knockdown shots and blah, blah, blah. And don't forget this. And so you provide like quite literally weekly webinars for your in-person student. Group clinics, so you can provide clinics as part of a broader subscription. I'll do a little demo of this later on, but like Shadow Pro and Guided Practice. So we've already got a product called Shadow Pro that actually takes your lessons and provides a guided practice session, right, for your students. So they can put an AirPod in, hit golf balls with a voice in their head telling them what to work on, and they can even bounce ideas off it, right? So this is clearly, in our opinion, this is the future of in-person instruction, right? Where it's almost like the online experience being brought down into the in-person experience. So it's now the cool thing is obviously you can charge a lot of money for this sort of experience, and it changes your day. Like it really does change your day. So basically your day, you mightn't spend as much time at the facility, right? But you might do a lot more online. So this is just something I want you to think about, right? So this is sort of like an AI proofing questionnaire a little bit, right? So with your current students, right, if a student gets stuck tomorrow at the driving range, can they get help that day? Can they practice with guidance? Can they get feedback without another lesson, right? Do they have your content resources? So this is another part of the hybrid experience, right? Is that, and Skillest, once again, we provide this in the platform. When someone subscribes to you for your in-person experience on Skillest, you can actually build out video libraries, right? So you can have everything about short game, everything you know about bunker play, everything you know about, hitting knockdowns, whatever it is. You can actually create libraries and libraries of content. So some of our coaches have got 500 videos inside their Skillest account so that when someone in person subscribes to them, they can actually use that resource. Now, we know, right, unfortunately, it's very, very difficult to stop the average human that when they get a golf lesson, if they don't have any of this support, right? If they don't have this hybrid experience, their first instinct is to go to YouTube, isn't it? Right. So, they hit a bit of a squiggly one, even after the greatest lesson of all time. They hit a couple of squiggly ones, they go off on their own tangents, and then if you don't have resources that they can go to, whether it be even being able to send you a message or look at your video library or your courses or whatever you've got built out, they're immediately going to go looking to YouTube. So you just need to, or go to AI potentially, right? Go and upload their swing. So these are the kind of experiences, long term that we think you'll need to provide for your, for your in-person students. Something else which is absolutely almost no coaches. Actually, I shouldn't say this. The best coaches definitely do this, but so many of the top coaches don't. Something that will 100% AI proof you is community, right? So community, people just don't use community enough, right? So meaning that, and this is once again, it's a feature inside Skillest you can use. You can put every single one of your in-person students into a group chat in Skillest. Like, you literally just create a group, you toggle on in-person students and add it to that group. And every single time you give an in-person lesson, that person gets thrown into a group chat. Now, students love community. Community is hard for you as a person to create, as a coach to create, because you've got to be patient at the start. You've got to, talk about a lot of stuff and upload videos and, do questionnaires and things like that before it gains momentum, because no one wants to be the first idiot to say something and embarrass themselves, right? But if you can build community into your in-person experience, it's absolutely critical, I think, to really AI proofing yourself, because it's like this hyperhuman experience that people just love so much, right? So I'll let you have a think about this in terms of how many yeses did you get from this, from these questions. So, okay, so this is the other thing to sort of look at as well, right? Is that our days are changing, and this is at the extreme version, right, of what I'm showing you. So this is someone that wants to build a great in-person experience, hybrid in-person experience, but they also want to build a digital business that they can coach the world. This is kind of what their day looks like. Right now, I don't want to scare you, and I want you all to think there's just no way in hell I'm ever going to do all this stuff, right? But you want to have elements of this within within your day, because the number one thing I get when students or coaches come to me, they say, how do I build a big digital business, whether it's in person or online? After all these years of helping coaches, inevitably what I have to say in the end is like, tell me what your day looks like and I'll tell you if you're going to be successful, right? If your day looks like going to the range or going to the academy or going to the club and doing 9 1-hour golf lessons, and then you get home absolutely exhausted and you got to cook dinner, and then you're like, oh, I should do some social media or I should do some of that crazy Skillest stuff. If that's what your day looks like, it's really hard to get busy, right? If you looked at the day of these, we just did this, we did some presentations in England recently, and we were lucky to have a couple of coaches in the groups, right? So we had like 30 guys and girls in each group. There were a couple of guys there that were making well over £100,000 a year on Skillest. And like, you could contrast the way their day looks to someone who is just trading time for money, and it's like night and day, right? So this is like quite literally someone who, Jason Nicol is a great Canadian coach. I don't know if any of you know who Jason is, but he lives in Winnipeg. And like, when Jason wakes up, he's got his own facility out the back, but he's thinking about content creation and attending to his online lessons and then taking some of that content and throwing it onto his socials. And then he might do some in-person coaching, right, as part of, a support to his hybrid stuff. He teaches from home as well. So he's now he's doing unbelievably on Skillest. So I think he's probably the biggest coach on Skillest in terms of revenue generated. He's now, with all that money, built his own at-home facility. So when he's under 7 feet of snow, he can still be coaching out the back. So, but his day looks so much like this. So this is the challenge, right? Is like, what am I doing every day? Like, even if you were to like not even look at this so much and say, what am I doing every day, or even like every second day, right? So on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, from 8, or depending, maybe from 9 till 10, I'm putting 3 hours aside each week to go, what am I doing to change my world, right? To like build out, a digital business and make more money and have more versatility. That's when your life will start changing. Um, so this is also, and I won't be too much longer here. I'll wrap this up relatively quickly, and then we can sort of go into the product itself. But this is the thing that's changing as well for all of you to get really, really good at, right? So now I'm a teaching pro, right? So I'm one of these institutionalized coaches that is an inbound golf coach, or was an inbound golf coach for many years. So what an inbound golf coach is someone, and all of us are these coaches, like it's almost impossible not to be largely, is that we work at a facility, we work at an academy, we work somewhere where there's almost like a ready-made customer base, right? That has to come and see you, right? So many coaches are bloody lazy, if I'm going to be completely honest, and they don't know how good they've got it because they just work. I used to teach at a facility in Melbourne, down south, one of the busiest driving ranges in the Southern Hemisphere. The coaches there used to do zero work to build their business, like no newsletters. They didn't do any outbound. They didn't do anything. They just lean up against a post, talk about the football and the weather, and while students just kept rolling in. Now, when that happens to you after a while, it definitely doesn't prepare you for the new world, which is outbound coaching, right? Or being able to compel someone that lives in, New York, San Diego, London, Brisbane, Australia to come and learn from you. So it really is a new skill set. And, we can talk about some of the tools in the app that you need to do that. But obviously, it starts with things like building social media and having a story to tell and understanding what your story is. That's the other thing that can be very challenging for us as coaches, is that when students come in and see you, you just react to the student a lot of the time, and it's hard to understand. Well, what is my belief system, or what is my strategy, and how do you communicate that? That just takes a little bit of time for you to sort of get good at over time. But yeah, what's happening now, and we've got a bit of a partnership, and I don't want to. I've got a video. I won't show it to you just for the sake of time, but like. Um, we've got a partnership with Golf Plus, which is a VR company. Now, we've already got some coaches that are quite literally, and this is, a little bit off in the future here, but they're giving playing lessons in VR already. So it's pretty wild to watch, right? So what's happening is that there's this breakdown of geographical barriers. And over time, like within a few years, whether the VR gets better and Skillest gets better and all these things, like there'll be no geographical barriers. So in that environment, you want to make sure that you are building a story, you are, building some socials and stuff like that, so that when someone can come and see you, they are compelled to come and see you, if that makes sense. So that's a new skill set that is quite difficult. I won't worry about this too much. I'll sort of move, into, this stuff. So this is really applicable for the in-person hybrid experience that I talked about as well, right? The online coaching and how it's different to in-person. So we'll chat about, very quickly, we'll talk about why coaches fail, why coaches win, how it's practically executed, right? But really, the fundamental problem, or reason that most coaches fail, right, is just this, right? And this is this is going to be incredibly applicable when you digitize your business eventually as well, and you're actually working with your in-person students online. So it's really, really important to understand this. But like, first of all, what most coaches do, especially if you're just working strictly online and hoping to work with anyone around the world, they just wait for people to book in, right? So like we do with our in-person experience. So they also teach problems, not solutions. So often, what will happen, say you come on to Skillest and you want to teach someone, or you want to build some, a remote business with people around the world. If someone comes in, we've got a lot of tools, like Eric might even talk to this, like where you can actually make yourself available for online lessons, for free online lessons, right? Where we've got partners like Rapsodo and Arcos, where their new users sometimes get free lessons on Skillest. So you can make yourself available to get those students and try and convert them into paid users. Now, the biggest mistake people make is that they break these swings apart and tell the student everything that's wrong. And then they say, let me know how you go with that. Right. Now, the best coaches on the platform, they teach solutions, right? So that they quite literally they might see what's wrong, but they always give the student exactly what they need to do next to improve. They tell I mean, they use the Shadow Pro, this AI product. We've got to like tell students exactly what their next practice session is going to look like, what they need to look out for when they're practicing. If you see this ball flight, you know you're going the wrong direction, or if you see this ball flight, you know that that's success, or if the contact feels like this, that's success. So great coaches are always like setting, okay, this is what's going to happen next. And I mean, to the extent where Albert Lee is the founder of MyFitnessPal, and Albert is he's on the board of Skillest, and he's an investor in the app and a power user as well. He works with a couple of students on our coaches on our platform. Albert just always said to me, and you can imagine at MyFitnessPal, right, which is the biggest sports and fitness app ever created. It's all about process and understanding where you're going. He used to say to me, Baden, if the students don't know exactly what's happening over the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? When you're next interacting with them, what videos to send back, what messaging, what their next practice session looks like, they're just going to disappear. They're going to churn because you might give them a good lesson, but they just don't know what's next. And this is so applicable to if you do create like a hybrid experience for your in-person students, right? So, when we're teaching in person, we give them their in-person lesson, and then we book them in 4 weeks. So there's sort of a natural cadence. We know what's happening next. Like we don't know what's happening in between time, but we know when the next interaction with it, is. But when you're working digitally, you've got to be like, because there's so many touch points and you can interact with your coach all the time, you've just got to be like setting clear plans for people. And this is sort of very, very similar. They copy and paste the in-person content into online, and they fail to leverage the true advantages of the interaction and frequency that you can have online, which is what I was talking about. So if we just take the in-person experience and we move it online, it doesn't seem to work very well. But if you like some of our coaches like will give lessons that go for 35 seconds, right? A little 35-second breakdown. Now, if we go take our old behavior of in person, if someone sent me a set of swings, for example, on Skillest, the tendency might be to think I've got to give them like 35 minutes of content, but that's not good for them, right? And it's not how the platform works. You want to give them enough content to work with and know that they're going to be working with you again very, very soon, which is, as I said, it's one of the big advantages of the platform. So anyway, I'll finish there. I mean, there's so much more stuff that I could talk about in terms of like the changing landscape and things that are happening and stuff, but we could probably do some product stuff. I don't know, Eric, do you want to maybe get your app up and talk about how you use it? Is there any, so maybe even before that, are there any questions? Have I scared everyone to death with, the impending AI revolution, or is everyone okay?
I think you did a great job with that. I think it's motivating to think about how to think differently and change, and
Mm.
that's awesome. Great presentation. Thank you.
Okay, good. I can scare people at times, but I get quite
I,
excited about
I,
it because
I feel that.
it's yeah, it's never been a
Yeah,
better time to
sorry,
be
sorry,
a
Baden.
teaching
I,
pro.
I, I thought I was talking a lot, but you did beat me there.
All right, Eric.
Uh,
Do you want to? I'll let you
can you,
jump in. Do you want to talk about your experience?
yes. Yeah, so like I said, I thought I was seeing all my life, going from a slide to another. So I think this is how I've been, living my golf teaching and business for the last few years. There's a lot of lesson learns as well. But I think with that hybrid model, this is exactly, I think people should look into. The digital coaching is not there to replace everything we do with in person, but I think it's just there to enhance everything that you've been doing. And one key thing that you did point out is communication, interaction. This is something that kind of grew with my clients. There's not a day that I'm not talking with any of them. Like there's always interaction, there's always feedback, and I think it's really important because even though you may not see them the next week, you might see them in 3 weeks. They want to make sure that is my next lesson schedule, and sometimes it's just kind of a follow-up, especially for beginners. They may not they may not be ready to absorb all the information you provided, even though you're trying not to give as much, and you don't want to bundle a package and just say good luck and I'll see you in 3 weeks, pretty much like you described. You want to make sure that they understand and they follow what they're doing. And I see this with not just beginners, but also advanced competitive golfers. I have 14, 15 years old competitive golfers online and in person, and I make sure that they understand everything I send them. So for me, I 25 of my business is still in person. But if I only take this year compared to the first few years, online lesson has tripled. It's referral, it's clients coming, it's new clients, and the social media did pay it off after all, because with everything that we put online, going to golf shows, and also just joining other golf communities, people start talking about what you've been doing, and the geographical barrier is no longer a thing, because if you become good at one thing in the golf industry, people are going to recognize this. So if there's something that you're good at, it could be putting, could be driving, could be swing technique, it could be anything. I would say just embrace that and make sure that you can use that, and you can have your students learn from it. Um, I mean, all the tools that we see now, I believe that there's a lot of digital platform out there, but I do feel that this one, Skillest, we do have everything that we need now. And one thing I did appreciate over the past few years is that they didn't forget about in-person lessons, and there's a lot of functionalities that you can apply to it. Um, like I said, there's not a day I'm not spending time on the app. I do have all these groups, so I talk to my clients. I do send weekly basis content. Sometimes I'm going to spoil them, so they're going to be the first to see the video that I'm going to be publishing online. And sometimes it's just pretty much things about what's happening. Hey, we all kind of witnessed what happened with Anthony Kim, even though we may not be all live golf fans, but I think we appreciate the most. That was something I shared, and people replied, and it's just a nice community to have around. So yeah, no, and yeah, I'll talk a little bit more, but I'll let you have a peek at the demo and presentation, and yeah, really looking forward to see Shadow Pro again.
Cool. Yeah, I think that what you just said then, though, Eric's like perfect, is that when something happens like what happened with Anthony Kim, like that is the perfect opportunity for everyone to join in the conversation, isn't it? Like if you've got a community, like this is just such a perfect engagement tool that, not many people leverage, right? So I could probably show you how we build our communities in the app now, but actually I'll share my screen. And so. So just to be clear, so Skillest is literally a in-person lesson capture. We have AI summaries, so literally there's AI listening to you as you teach, and then you press AI summary and it creates like bullet points of what you talked about during the session. We've got messaging. We've basically got WhatsApp built into the platform itself. As I said, you can create content folders within the app itself. There's so much in it. I mightn't even be able to get through most of it, to be honest, but I'll just give you the nitty gritty of like what it sort of does sort of day to day, especially for me. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully this works. Here we go. Here gets technology. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Come on. Here we go. All right. All right. So straight into it here. This is a lesson I gave. But if you look at the now, I don't teach quite as much as I used to. So I used to be like all of you and just teach like ridiculous amounts of hours. And now I'm unfortunately in the technology world, so I don't teach as much. So this is actually a lesson I gave a while ago. This is like June 2023. This is how I gave a lesson here. But it's literally the structure and a lot of the features like Shadow Pro didn't exist back then that I'm about to go through. But effectively, like, yeah, well, so we've got our profile here on the right-hand side, my videos. So all the videos that I ever need for basically model comparison or swing analysis or things like that all live in there. I can also create my video libraries from there. I've got my calendar there, so I'll go into that in a second. So I literally run my entire business through Skillest in terms of in-person bookings, how I do my hybrid stuff, and everything, and yeah, meeting bookings all live in Skillest calendar. I've got my messages, which, as I said, is just like WhatsApp, and then my lessons. Sort of this is where the heavy lifting happens over here on the left-hand side. But this here is Jared, and when Jared arrived for a golf lesson, all I do is hit create lesson here. I then put his email and his name in, and it opens what we call a lesson story. So immediately it invites him to the app. It says, "Hey, Jared, Baden's created a Skillest account for you. Follow these links." But what it does is we do things a bit differently, probably to every other platform, right? Is that every lesson is documented from start to finish, right? So this is pretty much how I used to teach, right? But we call it a lesson story or a session story because it's literally the story of the lesson unfolding. So at the top here, you can see I've got my original videos. I've then got any analysis I do goes into the middle section here. And then any after videos, tips, drills, homework goes into the very last section, right? So this is quite literally, usually in its empty state, it doesn't have any of these videos. It's just got a plus button in each of the sections, right? But essentially it works like this. So if I just hit the plus button here, I can then take video of my student. I use my iPad or my phone. I capture that, and then I just take all the footage I generally need at the start of the lesson. So I've got, his side on swing and his front on swing. So what I do is I then hit analyze. I can then hit this button here and compare it to anything from the current lesson and stored videos. I've got heaps of stuff I can do, right? But if I go current lesson and then I grab his front on action, the way I quite literally use this is that I call Jared over. I'm like, "Hey, Jared, come and have a seat next to me." And then I will literally hit this record button at the top here, even before I start annotating on the swing itself or anything like that, because I mean, there's a reason for it. The AI is listening to me talk to him, right? So it's really important that it captures all of the dialogue. But essentially, he's sitting down next to me, and I just press record at the top here. And quite literally, in the middle, as I'm going, I'm, drawing my lines. I've got my little skeleton up here that I can apply to, his goal swing and do all this stuff. But I'm doing it as he's next to me. There's no go home and do a review, like which takes so much time and wastes so much time. I'm capturing the dialogue as it happens in real time, right? So I'm doing that, analyzing it. I've even got video in video. So if I hit this is what I used to do. I used to get up and actually push the guy around in the middle of a lesson, and I'd actually capture myself doing that in real time, right? So we used to not have this feature, and sometimes I'd get up in the middle of analysis and push a student around. They'd be like, "Baden, every time you do that, I don't know what you're doing." So we put a video in there to record it. Okay, so I do all this, and once I've finished, I then press finish, and it instantly makes the movie, and it throws it. This is it here. That's the video there, right? It throws it into the analysis section of the lesson story. So I'll just delete that because Jared doesn't need to see that, right? So essentially, and what I can do is like I can actually title and tag and describe all these videos. So any analysis goes into the middle section. So you can see here I've done a bunch, right? What I've done is like if I look at this one, so this is me doing a drill for him, and I'm comparing the drill to his full swing and blah, blah, blah. And so you can imagine I'm quite video heavy, right? So this whole lesson has got probably 15 minutes of content inside it, but I'm essentially just documenting the lesson as it goes, right? So once I do that, I then get to the end of the lesson. I've got his model swings and stuff in there. Then all I do is I press submit. Now this is already submitted, right? But I press submit and he literally gets the entire session and becomes part of my digital academy even before he gets into the car, right? So, and once he gets in the car, he downloads the app and he's like, wow, like it's literally like I'm his coach and he has access to buy subscriptions and all sorts of things, and, online lessons and view content from that lesson. But as I said, he's also got this AI summary, right? So here you can see this was literally the AI listening to me, and it's like the key things you need to work on: keep your right arm more in front of your body, blah blah blah, right? You've even got transcripts of every single video that's in there. And then I've got comments so I can have a conversation. And now he's got Shadow Pro, right? So let's see if this demo works here. We'll give this a bit of a crack. Now, what I've always hated about a lot of, well, Skillest obviously has had this problem as well, but so many of these platforms, they're sort of glorified video storage devices. It's like, okay, this is the input into it. You've got all these videos, but the student doesn't know what to do with it. Now what's starting to happen is that you've got these awesome outputs from what happens in the lesson. Okay, so now the student can quite literally go to the driving range, put an AirPod in, and they can have a guided practice session of everything that happened in that lesson. So if I hit start a new session here, so this is just demo mode. So this is only happening on the coach side of things. So this is just so you can see what the Shadow Pro would say to the student. So it's just initializing this really quickly. It's having a look at the AI summary and everything. All right. So now it's like, hey, I'm Baden Schaff Shadow Pro. I can create practice sessions based on your lessons, and I can give you, and you can give me feedback throughout. Firstly, I just need to know where you're practicing. So I'm going to actually turn off, unmute this, and I'm going to have a conversation with it. Hey, Shadow Pro, how you doing? I'm just in my backyard. I've only got about 15 minutes before I pick the kids up. Can you give me a quick practice session?
G'day, Jared. We're targeting that over-the-top move using the skipping stone motion. Let's go for 10 slow reps. Focus on leading down with that right elbow first. What did that arm structure feel like? Did the right elbow stay close to your body?
Are you wanting me to do this without a club? I'm a little confused. Do you just want me to pretend I'm skimming a stone, or do you want me to use a club?
Let's use a club, Jared, but at half speed. Focus on that skimming stone feel with the right elbow leading. How did the motion feel compared to normal?
Okay, so that's
Keep that skimming stone motion
there we
in
go.
mind.
I'll jump out of there. Yeah, jump out. There we go. Okay, so right. That then, I mean, we've had students that are literally having a dialogue with the Shadow Pro for like an hour, right? And the coach then gets a full report from the session. This is how he went. This is what he struggled with. This is what she did. This is what she struggled with. And so it then creates and fills the loop. So we, rather than like a student coming back and going, "How'd you go?" You know exactly how they've been going, what's been working well, what hasn't been working well, and things like that, right? So this is the new era of like getting amazing outputs from the lesson, not just like diagnosis, like what is my amazing output? So that's sort of the lesson structure itself. I mean, what we've also got here, which is really cool, is that if your student has got a little green, these are all, so if your student's got a little green crown next to their name, see this one here? See how that I know this guy's got Arcos, right, connected to his Skillest account. So what I can do is scroll to the bottom here and I can view his stats. So I can actually go in and have a look at this. We're doing a lot more with Arcos this year as well. We've got some really cool stuff. So he plays off a 20 handicap. So I just want to have a look at his strokes gained and what's been happening. So I'm just going to apply that. And I can very quickly, this is literally going, there it is. Okay, so his handicap's obviously improved out of sight since last time he did that. But so his last 5 rounds, he's playing really well, right? So he's gaining all these shots, especially with, his driving has improved out of sight. So I can see his strokes gained, but I can also go in and see his recent scorecards and things like that, right? So if I hit that, there you go. So I can just see he's just playing sort of, there you go. So I can see where he's missing it. I can see where he's doing well, stuff like that. So really, really cool feature. Yeah, does that all make sense to this point? Any questions there? Eric, did you want to add anything?
Mark? Um, yeah, so I just saw one of the question, and I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
How much the application can be interpreted in other language? I know sometimes apps are going to work based on Samsung or Apple, the preferred language of the user, but I don't think I've experienced I had to experience like having to change the language of the app.
Yeah.
So where we at with the app so far this year?
That's good. Is that because I don't sound like I'm speaking English? Is that the problem, right? It's just the accent. That's the one they gave me, unfortunately. But
No, it's not the accent. So pretty much
no,
the
no, I
user
totally
wants to
get
know
it.
if yeah.
Well, so
No,
we
we
are
love your
working on
accent, Baden.
localization. Yeah, we are working on localization at the moment. So there's two things like the AI, incredibly, right? So the Shadow Pro, you can talk to it in any language and it will start speaking. It actually picks up on your location. It starts talking to you in your like based on your location. So if you're in, India, we've already seen this. Like it starts speaking to you in Hindi and guides you through. So, depending on where you are in Canada, it might start speaking French to you or something like that. So that's already happening in the Shadow Pro, but we haven't localized the rest of the app at this point. But we're in the process of doing it, which hopefully won't take too much longer.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I can say for this is for myself, if I really need to use another language for a client, all the AI summary, I am just pretty much just use another AI tool to translate very quickly what's been summarized if I need to. I mean, for the rest of the application, most of my clients, I would say maybe 60% of my clients are French based. It's very user friendly. So as you can see, there's just logos and just some bit of information about what is this tab and what is the other one. So I do feel that it's not a barrier at the moment, but I do feel that this is something that people are gonna enjoy quite a lot.
Totally. I did. I
I
was
didn't
actually
I didn't know
speaking.
about I
Sorry.
didn't know about the Shadow Pro being able to do other languages. I'm gonna have a
Yeah.
shot at French Canadian. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I'd love your feedback. You tell me how it goes.
Yeah,
So,
I
uh,
will. I will.
uh, So yeah, so look, I appreciate that we are looking to localize the product pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, here I'll sort of move. I'll leave a little bit of time for some questions here, but I'll move through relatively quickly here. So then we've got like our messages tab here. Now in the messages tab, it quite literally is a lot of it's based around the power of WhatsApp, to be honest. So in here, I mean, what you'll see, I'm chatting to coaches all around the world 24/7, right? So if you are to use the app, you'll discover that I'm in here chatting to like hundreds of coaches all the time. I'm answering questions and things like that. But this is where once you create a profile on the app, so this is the other power of Skillest as opposed to other platforms. You create like an external facing profile, meaning that not only are you using it for your in-person students, but anyone around the world can come and discover you based on your profile, and people can just message you out of nowhere. So Eric's probably already experienced this, where you'll be giving someone an in-person lesson, and you might literally get a DM from someone that lives in Australia and says, "Hey, I've seen you on Instagram. I really love the way you coach. Or I've just found your profile on Skillest." So they'll DM you straight through here, right? So this is like an open line of communication between you and the world, but it's also where you do your messaging with students as well, right? So if I just go in here and hit, so this is a one-on-one conversation with a coach over in New York. But if I hit the plus button, we've also got a bunch of different things that obviously WhatsApp don't have, which is like you can actually start Zoom within here. You can send people certain plans. Like if you're having a conversation with someone that lives on the other side of the world and you come to a conclusion, hey, I think you need this plan, right? So, and obviously you can build these plans inside Skillest itself. You request free uploads. There's so much functionality in here. It's really, really cool. You've got your groups, all right? So this is where, so I've got my Skillest Pro-Am group, right? So these are all the coaches that are coming to the Skillest Pro-Am, and we're just having a chat and sharing ideas and things like this. But so I use Skillest quite literally as my communication tool with my coaches. I even use the broadcasting you can see at the top here. I actually say, so the broadcast there, I send out content. Eric will say this. I send out content almost like once a week, or twice a week sometimes, of like best practices or new features or coach interviews or whatever it might be. So I use it as my communication tool in the exact same way that you should be using it with all of your students. So as I said, with a group, for example, like if I go into groups and I hit plus up here, you can see here I can actually add in-person students to a group. So it's that easy to create a community with all your in-person students. If you hit that button and name it and press create, as long as you've, got some students in your account, right, they'll all get added into a group chat. But you can also add them to subscriber groups, right? So say you've got online subscriptions of people around the world, you can add everyone into a group. So our top coaches are all doing this really effectively. So they might have 80 subscribers from around the world that are training with them completely remotely, uploading videos and doing everything, but they also live inside a community. So it's really easy to do that inside the app as well. And as I said, you've got broadcasting. So I can go in here and I can go in, and we've segmented this all for you. Oh, I think I've just stopped sharing. How did that happen? It's interesting. Let me just stop that. I'll start again. Here we go. Is that working?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. Sorry, there it is. Okay. So you can see here that these segments here, we automatically do that for you, right? So we break all of your students from online students, followers. We've got a social element in Skillest where people can come and follow you. In-person students, people who've purchased packages. So you can send out one message to everyone, right? So as opposed to a group chat, this is like a broadcast to everyone. So you can do that inside Skillest. We've got your calendar here. Whoop. Oh, that's a crash. I'm using a beta version of Skillest, so it does that occasionally. So I've got my calendar here. So I do run my life here through Skillest. So I've got chats and all sorts. Sorry, I've got all sorts of things from like my webinars in here. I've got like my company meetings. I've got everything in here. But you can run all of your in-person coaching, your hybrid coaching, your onboarding Zooms. So we actually set it up so that you can create like little Zoom calls. People can book into your calendar to talk to you about what it is to learn from you. These are all these little tools we've built into the app for people to then, be able to convert to a paid user. So we've got so much of that stuff in there. I'll keep just going quickly because we're just about to run out of time. We've got videos, so you can put all of your videos in here that you're ever going to use for analysis. Any video you're ever going to use to build a folder, folders and folders of content. So, and all of this stuff that I'm describing can be put together. So whether it's lessons, messaging, group chats, broadcasts, content, videos into one subscription for your in-person or online students. So it's all there. So I might stop there. I could probably there's so much more detail I could go into, but I think that's something that I'm more than happy to go into greater detail with you individually if you like. I love having individual chats with coaches and helping them get on board and onto the platform. There's also a lot of content on YouTube and stuff you can see about the platform. But yeah, I might just stop there so I can leave a couple of minutes for any questions that might be there.
Great job. Very impressive. Everything is probably a lot for us to understand and think about the future. It's exposing us to what's next, sort of thing.
Totally, totally. And the thing is, though, what I would stress, like, there is a lot of information. I want to get you excited, but it's all process and time. Like, for the coaches that are making, over £25,000 or, $30,000 a month, they started 4 years ago and they built into that. Do you know what I mean? Or 3 years ago and they build towards that. So there's no starting at the end. It all starts with, and Eric will probably agree with this, it all starts with using it for your very first in-person lesson. And even that on its own will provide so much value to the student that goes home and they're like, this whole thing's been recorded. I get to rewatch I get an AI analysis and I get a Shadow Pro with that. Just that on its own is so much value for your in-person students. And then what happens is, there's the other thing I didn't say, is that you actually get ratings and reviews from your in-person students. So you slowly build out social proof. So once you get good at the in-person stuff and we build a little bit of social proof, in 2 or 3 months we go, all right, well, what's next? Like, what can I now do to slowly build my digital business? And that's what we do as a community largely. Like, there's so many coaches working with other coaches. There's content we're uploading all the time. It's sort of like, where do I want my business to be in 3 years? And you just build like, some habits to get to that point.
I think the exciting part is the amount of time we have not in demand because we're in Canada, right? We've
Yeah.
got such a long off season to really perfect some of this other thing.
That is exactly right. And so sometimes, necessity is the mother of invention. It's like, this Jason, who I was talking about, who's in Winnipeg. He loves Winnipeg. Like he doesn't want to go and live in Florida or go and coach in Florida. He wants to live in Canada and he has no intention of leaving. So he was like, well, I've got to build a bigger business than, the one that's available to me in person, which is only 6 months, if you have a good summer. So he just created it. He had to, it's a pretty amazing story. I'll actually send you an interview I did with him if you want. I could send that on and then you could share it to everyone. He's
Absolutely.
former military. He almost had his leg blown off in the war, and he came home and he said, "Enough of that war stuff. That's not really for me. Golf's my passion." He became a pro, and now he's like, he's changed his life, and he's making many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars teaching completely remotely. So I can send that interview for all of you to watch because it's pretty inspirational.
That's awesome. Um, Kind of one question that everybody's probably thinking is the
Mm.
cost. Uh,
Mm. So at the moment, just for the teaching tools, it's $59 a month. And then, so pretty much everyone using the software is paying $59 a month. The calendar and that, because literally the calendar is like an Acuity replacement or whatever you're using. That's, that's going to be free for like another 6 months or something, and then might be $20 a month. So at the very most, if you're using absolutely everything, it's going to be about $79 a month. But then what we do if you start interacting with people around the world, because we do have a broader market, we are a marketplace as well. Like students do come to the platform to train with people remotely. There's a 15% lesson fee, right? So if someone from Brisbane, Australia, sends buys a lesson from Eric and it's $100, we charge the student $115. But I mean, until that happens, it's only, pretty much for the time being, it's like $59 a month.
is that US dollars or Canadian?
That's USD. That's USD. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Um, have you ever run into a situation so you've because you can do a live lesson on Skillest, right? Or can you?
Like a Zoom call, like where you jump on a Zoom with someone?
Yeah.
Yep.
And like they feed you back the video or you're watching them take the swing.
Yes.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the places where this individual, he's there, you're not, he's taking swings, you're getting paid as an instructor. Um, has there been any feedback there as far as what the driving range or whatever it is, their concerns about this kind of thing happening?
No, not really. Not really. I think that everyone sort of realizes, the world's changing and, it's pretty much up to the student, I think, in that situation, what they want to do. I mean, a good example of this was just before I finished coaching at my academy, which is one of the biggest academies like in the Southern Hemisphere. We had like 13 teaching pros there and some of the best. Like there were three guys that had won Australian Teaching Pro of the Year at the one facility. I was standing in the middle bay. There's 4 or 5 teaching bays, like at this facility. I was standing in the middle bay, and Joe Hasham walks in, who was a former World Series poker champion, right? So he's an Aussie bloke that won the World Series of Poker. He walks in and he said, Baden, I'm learning from Steve Giuliano over in Singapore. I can't get a decent camera angle. He reckons my camera angles are terrible, right? And so he asked me in the middle of a lesson, mind you, like to stand there and get him from front angle and side angle so that he could send his swings to a guy in Singapore. So he would rather not learn from 5 guys and girls that were standing directly in front of him and send swings, to a person in Singapore. And we were completely fine with it because it's his choice to do that. But I mean, it was a sign. I just remember thinking, wow, this is changing. Things are changing here. If he'd rather go and send it to someone who lives, 8,000 miles away, sort of thing. So, but yeah, no, we haven't had any feedback at all. And to be honest, the way the live lesson is used more, I don't know how effective it is a lot of the time to even watch people hitting balls. The way people use Zoom more often than not is more of a dialogue like this, where you might actually get up in, more people are probably using it in their lounge room than they are using it, at the range, where they'll stand up and go, is this what you meant? This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm trying to do. And it's more of a sort of a to and fro in that. It's not so much you literally set the phone up at the range, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
Sorry,
Baden,
man.
I
oh,
can, yeah, I just want to add that's a good comment, and that's very interesting. Uh, I think the outcome of this is, let's say you go to a facility, there's a new facility, a driving range. I think it's, for respect, the student may ask around the staff if he's, am I okay? Is it okay that I do this? Like I go to one facility in Ottawa where I do teach students on Monday evenings, and sometimes other people are going to come to me and they say, "Hey, I really like how you coach. It looks like you know what you're doing. Can I get a card? Can I get your name?" And I tell them the first thing I'm going to tell them is, well, my agreement with this golf school is I only come for students. So I'll be happy to refer you to another coach, and if they don't want to take on a new student, well, this is when I can, pretty much just offer my service. I think it's just, if things are done properly, I don't think you're going to run into that type of issues. I mean, of course, digital coaching is fairly new in North America. Pretty much like Baden and Mark, you did say we're in the North and we only have 6 months of golf, and indoor golf is not a thing for everyone. So I think it's just becoming, it's going to be more apparent, and I'm speaking from experience. Like I said, online lesson is becoming more of a thing now to me as well. My business is growing also on that side, so it's just a matter of time before I think it's going to be around for everyone.
There'll be some teething issues, but yeah, I think it's coming to the world.
Yeah,
Baden,
just where I am, it's they're touchy on in the PGA side of things. They've got signs up, nobody teaches but a PGA professional type thing. So they've locked a lot of doors. So if you were to do this and go in from the back door, as it were, I was just wondering if you've had any conflicts that way.
So is your concern the because in the end, like you're teaching from home. Like not, as I said, like a tiny portion of coaching on Skillest is like hitting balls with a Zoom call going. Like, I mean, that would be like 0.1% of all interactions on the platform. It's all asynchronous where you're doing it in your own time at home, essentially, like interacting with the students. So are they touchy because they don't want you teaching um, at all somewhere else, or like they don't want you to build your own brand?
Don't, what was the question? Sorry.
What are they? So are they? What in particular are they touchy about you teaching other people around the world somewhere else? Like either you're at home doing lessons and they're not getting some money. Is that what it is?
Yeah, basically.
Right. My, I mean, well, I've got a video on that as well. We just released a video with a guy called Rati who he got banned from Skillest at Golf Tech. So he was on Golf Tech and he's in Chicago. This guy, he was at Golf Tech and they banned him from Skillest. And I mean, Skillest is banned at Golf Tech because we liberate coaches and they like to lock people into like ridiculous contracts and not let them make any money. So he just said, right, screw you, Golf Tech, I'm going off to build my own brand. And now he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I would also always be fearful, and I think it's changing, but I'd always be fearful of a facility that's like, you're not allowed to teach anywhere else. You're not allowed to teach at home, even if it's people around the world. Like you should be looking for facilities that embrace that like they love the fact that you're building a brand, telling a story. You might even have people from around the world flying to see you at that facility. So hopefully it's not a I mean, I don't see it as conflict at all. I actually think it's like really good for those facilities because you're not actually taking any money away from them. You're only adding to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a lot of courses here that are city owned, so they're municipal type
Yep.
courses, and then they kind of locked in a deal with the PGA of Canada, and like I say, for us as CGTF instructors, it's more difficult to find a place to teach.
Yeah. Well, that's why online's the best place to teach.
Hmm.
You don't need anywhere. Like you should build your own. Like I know this is like easy to say, but you should be tomorrow waking up and going, I am building my own brand. I'm telling my own story, and I'm just going to do what, like Jason Nickel, who, he did become a PGA member, but he only became a member 2 years ago, and he like was for years building a Skillest business. I think I don't know. That's what's so great about, I think, our platform is that, like, especially if you can start to do the social side of things and build an audience globally, like, you will be completely liberated from all that rubbish, because I'm a PGA member. I've been a PGA member for 12 years or whatever, but we don't stop, we don't say if you're not a PGA member, you can't teach on the app. It's the opposite of that, to be perfectly honest. If you're a great communicator, if you love helping people, and if you can help people, we embrace that. So without, I'd argue this is the perfect place to coach, but you do have to build probably a little bit of a brand and just slowly do it over time.
Baden, I got a question about demographic as far as the students and the users and the people that go to Skillest. Are they generally younger, or are they all mixed ages, or do you know the demographic?
It's no, we definitely do. So it's generally, 25 to 45, is definitely the general demographic. So and it's like 83% male and 17% female. Um, so it is, yeah, that's the demographic. But I mean, you can even see it on socials all the time. There are some, 65-year-olds that are getting, 70-year-olds that are getting amazing results online from as students. So we do see that. And when I say, 25, it's definitely that's the majority. There are still, we've got close to 1 million accounts now on the platform. So there's still like thousands and thousands of people between the age of, 45 and 55, which is the age group I'm in. So
You see many people flipping from instructor to instructor?
we see some people are 100% inclined to do that. For some people, this is everything they've ever dreamt of because they love the idea of like being able to jump around. They've sort of been restricted to literally by driving around to like the coaches. So some people are 100% like that. Some people are working with 3 or 4 coaches at once, which I know isn't ideal, and the coaches don't like it. But most don't. Like what most will do is, well, they might have a full swing coach and a putting coach or something like that, and they work with 2 coaches at once, but they do totally different things. So some students do jump around, but the vast majority, what they'll do is they might jump around, but it might be after 6 or 7 months, if that makes sense, right? They're like, okay, I've had a great run with that coach. I might try something else.
Sorry, Vit, can you review the pricing structure again, the changes you said that were coming? I know you said it's kind of the US dollar is about $60 a month right now, but you're kind of saying something about like a percentage being eventually sort of charged or something?
No, so at the moment there is so say Curtis, I come and discover you on Skillest, or I want to learn from you remotely. Um, if that happens tomorrow and you're charging $100 a lesson or $50 a lesson, so $50 a lesson, I get charged $57.50, right? So there's a 15% lesson fee, or $100, $115, right? So that is there. That's always been part of the business model, but that's only with the remote coaching, right? If you want to use the app tomorrow to start building out your in-person stuff and training people in person, they get that whole beautiful experience. It's $59. But if you want in about 6 months, like once we're sort of just, getting a whole bunch of coaches onboarded, if you want to use everything, calendar, teaching system, it's going to be like $79. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I got you. Now as far as the calendar goes, like right now I'm with a certain um calendar and I have my own studio. So I've got bays and I've got instructors and stuff. So it's a little bit complex when it comes to that. So how
Yeah.
good is the scheduling system? Because that's going to be another, thing. Like I'm assuming that's only scheduling my lesson, or does it also block the bay? Like all those kind of questions.
We don't have the bay booking yet. Yeah, no, that's definitely not there. But I see that that will be something in the future, but we don't have it just yet.
When you're ready to go there, please contact me because I
Yeah,
cannot find the right one that does
right.
everything, and I've got a laundry list, so I will help you build that out.
Okay. All right. That'd be amazing. I
Um,
definitely will, Curtis. That'd be good.
yeah. So I would assume then that most of your coaches who are require kind of to block a bay or whatever, that they'll have two scheduling platforms. One to get the lesson in here. In Skillest is going to block your schedule so nobody else can get into that particular time frame that you might be working with someone. But then they'll have to go in and take that lesson and also sort of manually block the bay they're going to use or whatever. I'm assuming that that's a pretty standard practice then currently.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. So, I mean, our dream obviously is that we're just the all-in-one platform that does absolutely everything. You don't need to don't need to go anywhere, whether it's, vouchers or whether it's, whether it is booking bays or clinics or, we've got all that stuff in there at the moment. But yeah, not yet, unfortunately, because I'll come to you for sure when we need someone to tell us everything that's wrong with the current
Well,
the
please
status
do
of
because
it.
I think I've tested and checked all of them, and I'll tell you
Right.
where all the
Amazing.
points are. You'll be number one.
You would have thought someone would get that right by now, surely.
You would think.
Yeah, I do hear this all the time. I mean, some people seems to have a pretty good kind of concept, and they do have the tools. On my end, what I do is I already know what is my schedule. So let's say I have secure like a bay at an indoor facility for a certain day, then my availability on for the calendar is based on that. So this is how I work, and I go to several facilities across the city. So this is how I manage the booking to be not as complex. I mean, it's just on a monthly basis, I book, make that I have the indoor. I mean, outdoor is not as a problem because we do have our own golf school in the summer. But for indoor, we do have to kind of look at those external calendaring services. But once you get your hands on, and it's just pretty much just on a repetitive motion, and it's not as complex. It's pretty easy. And yeah, for those of you, so Baden, so just to confirm, so the calendaring is going to be just pretty much optional, right? You don't have to enroll for the calendaring. You can just go and use Skillest as typical, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally. I think long term though, like if you want to build out these subscriptions and what I was talking about, that beautiful hybrid experience, like that's probably only going to be possible with the calendar, if that makes sense, just because we'll be able to track how many lessons they've got left. We'll be able to track like all sorts of different, there'll be a lot of magic that happens, if that makes sense, when you've got the teaching platform and the calendar together. Like you can imagine a world where someone arrives for a lesson and based off their Shadow Pro sessions, their recent lessons, their Arcos data. We've literally got a lesson plan ready for you, right? Okay, he's played 3 rounds since then. Like this is what he's struggling with. Like this is his 4 Shadow Pro sessions. This is exactly what the next. So yeah, you're 100% right. But we would hope that like in a year's time, it's like, well, this is just too magical not to use. Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. And from my own experience, what I can tell is that I think even like right now with all the functionalities that the platform will provide you, that monthly payment is pretty much nothing. I mean, you're going to be giving a lesson, and pretty much your subscription is paid off,
Yeah.
entirely. So I think it's totally worth, for me, it's totally worth the money because with hundreds of clients now, I can function and handle and manage all that is within the lessons, the follow up. I mean, what's neat about a platform like this one is have everything combined into one place. Um, this guy where I had a Google Calendar, I had a cloud on Apple for the video storage, and I have maybe forms and cheat sheets that I would provide my clients. Now I can do everything from one place, and I think that saves a lot of time. So not only now I can do in-person lessons, but I can also provide all that digital coaching, and it only takes me just a few minutes to do it for everyone, as opposed to in the past where we had all those external tools not integrated. So I think that's the value there. And like for me, I mean, when people see the lessons, they enjoy it because they can rely on what they experienced before, and they can come back and they can review their own videos. And when you get to the next lessons, you're not starting again from scratch, and people are really happy about that. Like they do see that they're getting better, and now they want to work on something else. So it just keeps on adding, and that's the great experience that you have with your clients.
That's good. So good to hear. That's awesome, Eric. That's great.
Question, Baden.
Yes.
Two questions actually. Do you have that same platform for Android as you have for Apple?
It's literally going to be released in about 2 weeks. So we're ironing out the last bugs of the Android coaching app. Yep. So not just yet, but a couple of weeks away.
And is that a personal preference, or is there more accessibility with the Apple?
For you, are you saying, is it a preference to which one you want to use? Is that what you're saying?
For you, in the sense that you use Apple.
Well, we use Apple just because, like, Apple is, I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons. More golfers use Apple. Like, it's unbelievable, the demographic. It's just incredible how many more golfers use Apple. And secondly, it's one system, one phone, one platform. When you're building out for Android, I mean, there's a million different phones, there's a million different formats. It's so much more That's why every time anyone uses an Android app, they'll be like, hey, this doesn't quite work as well as it's worked in other places. It just has a lot of complexity to it, the Android ecosystem, but we're trying to fix all that. So hopefully it'll be ready to go within a couple of weeks. Well, literally this morning I woke up to about 1,000 little fixes in Slack that we're working on exactly that. So hopefully not too far away, Paul.
So personal question, or what you want to call it that, how does it compare to OnForm?
OnForm's great, but OnForm does one thing really well, which is just like help you analyze the in-person lesson, if that makes sense, right? So, which I think is great. What we're obsessed with is like we want to build it's like a business in a box for you, if that makes sense. Like OnForm doesn't have, definitely doesn't have a marketplace. It definitely doesn't have any payments. It doesn't have subscriptions. Doesn't have a calendar. You can't run a business through it. You can't build content folders for people. You can't. It doesn't have the same messaging. It doesn't have even the lesson structure that we've got. It doesn't have Zoom integrated. We're just, there's no one in the world using OnForm and making $350,000 a year through using the product, if that makes sense, right? So don't get me wrong, great product, but it doesn't do much. Like it literally helps you record the in-person experience. And even then, like once you do that, it just sends it straight over to a folder, and then the student has to go through the folder. And that's what I love about our lesson stories. Every lesson has its own context, if that makes sense. So it's a good product, but it's just if you want a really good platform to record what happened in the lesson, and that's it, pretty much, if that makes sense.
So
If I can, add to the, oh, go ahead. What I was going to say, if I can add to the Samsung, Android, and Apple, even though a client has an Android phone, if there's an issue about getting the application on an iPad or another Apple product, you can always share a link for the lesson. And this is a link that you can open on a browser, and they have pretty much the same experience. They can watch the lesson and they can have the comments. It doesn't prevent the client to go have a look at the lesson. I do have lots of clients that did ask the same question, and I didn't have any negative feedback with watching the lesson from a browser or like having this option.
I should have made this clearer, which I didn't, but there is actually, Eric, a Android for students. So there is actually an Android version for students, right? So We
Yep.
didn't have it for coaches, Paul, which is what I was talking about. But yeah, if you go to the student Android version, it's just as good as the Apple Android, but getting better all the time anyway. So, but yeah, we do have a browser version, exactly as Eric said. So if you students can go and log in on the web and view all their lessons there as well. All right, team. You there, Mark? Are you saying something? But I mean, what I'll do is I'll send a follow-up email to everyone. I'll have my calendar, my Skillest calendar link in there, and you can all, I'm happy to book in. I still speak to probably 30 or 40 coaches every single week, first thing in the morning. I start my day at 5:30, and I'm chatting to coaches all week long. So I'd love to speak to any of you. I'll even add the link in with Jason, and you can rewatch his story and everything, which is truly inspirational. But I'd love to keep working with you. I think you're on mute, Mark. Are you talking? I'm not sure.
Perfect. And
Yeah, that
Baden,
was
how does it?
nope.
Sorry, I think my internet was breaking up a bit. So Baden, for the trial, I think a few people had they were wondering how is it going to work for the trial.
That's a really good question. We will have a, that's right. We'll get a code for you. We'll give you a month's free trial. So it's usually 7 days, but we'll give you a month's free trial. I'll send that in the email as well. I'm sure within a month you'll get like a lot of value. In that time, I might have jumped on a call with you as well, and we'll get you moving. At the very least, your in-person students are just going to absolutely love, how the session's documented and what they can do with that content.
And after a month, we won't want to deny our students this experience any further.
Exactly. We'll hook you in.
Yeah. Well, Baden, thanks so much, Eric, too. This has been phenomenal. It's been a great presentation tonight. Uh,
Amazing.
I think I think that there's going to be a kind of a shift. I think the CGTF have had a pretty strong connection to OnForm, but as you put it, it's pretty limited. And it's funny, we went from V1 to
Yeah.
OnForm because V1 at the time was very limited, and then OnForm presented, a new level. And then what this is completely another level. So
Mm.
impressive, very impressive.
Well, that's great to hear. That's fantastic to hear. And
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
we're just getting started. So I'd love to help you all. This is the thing with a lot of the coaches that are very successful on the platform. I still jump on Zoom calls with them and we strategy session, right? What's the next 6 months look like? So, and we've got great support in the team and, 24/7 support literally in the app. So that's always there. And there's so much content coming out all the time as well. So we're here to work as a community and, yeah, change the game.
There was one question
And
left, I think. Is there a collaboration with Rapsodo, or is that just
Uh,
something you mentioned?
There could be something coming. Yeah, let's stay tuned for that one.
All
So,
right.
yeah. Does anyone use Rapsodo or?
I think maybe.
Mm, we've definitely got a relationship with them. We're sort of just figuring out exactly how much further it goes or in what direction. There's so much stuff you could do. Like this is the
Yeah.
thing. Like there's so much stuff. My brain doesn't stop, unfortunately, and there's so many cool experiences you can create. So we just need to prioritize things. So yeah, but stay tuned for that.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and we'll let you go. That was phenomenal.
Fantastic team, and
Okay.
I'll see you all soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Baden.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks,
thank you, Baden.
everyone.
I
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
appreciate your time.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for organizing.
Oh,
And
that was great.
and Mark, if anyone would like to contact me directly, I know Baden is always busy. I can also provide 5-10 minutes. I can do a quick quick call, and I can show them around the application if anybody has any questions. And of course, anyone at the golf show in Ottawa, I'll provide also the information for the trial. And there might be also another code we'll be providing to allow some of your clients to jump on the app and not being charged for, let's say, having any of the products. I mean, when it's your client, it's your client. You kind of pretty much decide what you want to do with your content. But of course, we'll have the free month trial for everyone.
Perfect. Well, that's pretty impressive. I think it gets people thinking what the future is going to look like and what's the possibilities, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for people that doesn't have that amount of clients, they only have like a few, or it's not their, they if they have more clients and they want to grow their business, no matter if it's in person or they want to go into that remote coaching or hybrid model, it's one fantastic way to have everything in one place. And I did try on form. What's the one you said about what's it called again? V1. Yeah. I've tried many, and I mean, it wasn't perfect at the beginning. I mean, there's always place to grow, right. And there's always features that you can potentially enhance. But one thing I like about this one is that it was built by golfers for golfers. Yeah. They understand, like, the background that they bring to the table is golf based, and I think that's a unique thing. And you see this all the time with a good product. If it's somebody who knows what's it about, then it's going to generate something very beneficial.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was great.
Good.
So.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah,
that was outstanding, and thanks for getting that set up.
Yeah, no, it was good. Eric brought it to us, and we're quite fortunate he did, I think, because
thanks, Eric.
I just wish I hadn't have paid my year's
welcome, guys.
subscription to OnForm. That's always the way, right? But anyways, we'll
put it in your calendar for next year.
Yeah, no, next fall, maybe make a little transition. Anyways, we will have Jeff Howe's got quite a presentation for us a month from today on March the 16th. So I think it's going to be fun, and we'll have a good time then. Everybody have a good night.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Nicer weather's on its way.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.